it, boys. You're doing it. You're doing it. Oh. Yeah! Let's go! Woo! Oh! Yeah! Let's go!
Blackwell is never leaving the lineup!
No, it's not.
Welcome back to Starcastic Remarks. Alongside James to my left, and technically Chris is supposed to be over there, and Chris to my left, and James to my right. This is Starcastic Remarks. We appreciate you guys being here for this late night edition of this episode. Dallas Stars get the win here this evening, the first one in 9 games dating back over a week into the regular season. Who's Blackwood? We raise you a Blackwell. Blackwell gets the overtime game-winning goal for the Dallas Stars here this evening. Absolutely not the person that I had on my bingo card, guys, but they seemed to get better as the game went forward. They seemed to finally make a couple of adjustments on the defensive side and in the lineup, and everything seemed, I don't want to say it was perfect, but it seemed to click a whole lot better. It was fantastic the way that game ended.
The Stars made one roster change between games 1 and 2. And that was to take out Bork and add Blackwell. And boy, does that look like a fantastic decision. And you said it wasn't on your bingo card. And before the game, I agree. It's not on the bingo card. During the game, Blackwell was one of the best Dallas Stars on the ice. It was insane. He fully deserved that goal. If I had to pick who I wanted to score, it would have been Blackwell, and he did it. That was fantastic. Great game by the Stars' depth.
Yeah, especially the fourth line as a whole. They had another goal earlier in the game too. That was the Harley goal. The fourth line was fantastic all night long. you throw Blackwell on there, and they were just downhill pretty much every time they touched the ice.
I'm gonna bring up Larry Brown's comment because I think this is what they need to do moving forward. They found a something that worked for them here tonight. First game in 16 games, the Stars won the shots on goal battle, and they won the hits, block shots, and fewest giveaways, which is also the first time they won all those in one game in 2 months.
That's
What
wild.
a comment! What like winner of the night comment wise when it comes to that. So I mean, Larry Brown, excellent find there. Excellent
Statistician
stat
Brown,
find.
thank you, sir.
Yep. Okay, there's lots of things that we can get into here tonight, but I do think that we need to talk about Blackwell not just because he scores the game-winning goal, but I mean, I was tweeting that out from the podcast feed, from the podcast socials throughout the night. I mean, even in the first period, that 5'9" guy comes in and he is an absolute difference maker in whatever he was doing, whether he was making a big hit, whether he was going after the puck with just a little bit of edge to it. Jamie Benn deserves a little bit of credit in that area as well when it comes to edginess. I mean, especially, you know, who deserves even more is Liam Bichsel. My gosh, that guy up to the ante, probably up to 200 to 250% from what we normally see. And all of that worked. But once again, Blackwell is absolutely the biggest winner here tonight, at least for me.
Yeah. And just an amazing hockey game, too. I mean, the back and forth, the swings of momentum, the scoring changes, obviously. Just what an absolutely awesome hockey game to watch. I just wish it didn't start at 9 p.m. But other than that, it was a perfect hockey game. That's what you want to show people.
I agree. But at the same time, this is what they want. This is what the NHL wants, is just primetime hockey.
This is what everybody wants. Everybody wants this kind of hockey.
And I was also thinking that as well when I was talking with Dad as the game was winding down, as they were signing off on the broadcast. I was just like, I don't see how you can look at this sport and look at what we just saw and say that is not the greatest way to end a hockey game in the playoffs, or even in all of sports, to be completely honest. That's just my personal opinion, and obviously I'm biased, but there is nothing like overtime playoff hockey. There's nothing like it.
Another good stat for you, little undersized Colin Blackwell, I think you said 5'9", tied for the team lead in hits with 5. That is insane. He had such an amazing game. The fourth line had such a great game. They were the most consistent forecheckers for the Stars all night long. Maybe not the most consistent offensive producers, but the forecheck for them they were almost always playing in the offensive zone. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's also someone who isn't really, dude, hasn't played a lot of playoff games either. I mean, he's 32. He probably knows himself that he doesn't have very many more chances at this, especially being more of a depth player. And I mean, he showed up huge, and he really made his presence known, and known early too. I mean, it was the first shift. He's throwing hits and body around.
That's exactly what you have to do if you get added in the middle of a series. You have to bring energy, and that's exactly what he did. And then some, obviously.
Bam Mod, Blackwell brought the stink energy that we've been missing. And our sister Casey says, yes, referring to the comment. Is there some truth to that?
For sure. I mean, his forechecking, his F1 on the forecheck was fantastic. He was the most noticeable in the forecheck for the Stars.
I very briefly mentioned it. It's same area of conversation when it comes to Blackwell, but Blackwell, Bichsel, Ben, Marchment, Esa Lindell at some points as well. The physicality aspect that we've seen from this team the last 2 games has been tremendous. Absolutely, completely 100% different than what we saw the last 2 months. And Blackwell deserves a lot of credit for that. But again, I really think that, Chris, and I'll give you your daisies here, Bichsel has just kind of led the way in that aspect, and just everything that he did. It didn't matter whether it was just a couple of after whistle extracurricular stuff. if it was a big hit, if it was just, tossing guys down like rag dolls in the corners, whatever it was, he led the way physically. And I think that's another reason why that they decided to keep him in the lineup and not keep him down in Texas.
Yeah, and that's something that we haven't seen from the Stars in the past 2 years. I mean, during the whole playoffs last season, it was just avoid the physicality, avoid the extracurriculars, just play your game. Now the Stars, I mean, the Avs aren't the most physical team, obviously, but they can dish it. And I think they were the aggressors in this game more so than they were trying to keep up with the aggression of the game, which is new.
Yep. So, okay, the other aspect I wanted to talk about this is it almost, I don't know how to take this from a team perspective, if that makes any sense. I thought the Stars didn't start bad, but it wasn't their best.
How hard disagree with that. I thought the first period was terrible.
Okay, that's fair.
Well, here's what I'll say. Until the first TV timeout, I mean, the Stars were just taking on water. I mean, they were not ready. After the first TV timeout, they got their first good shift of the game, and then Mason Marchment took a tripping penalty.
Right.
And it totally killed momentum. It killed everything, and they couldn't get it back.
That is a very good point, because that was you could hate it as much as you want, but that was absolutely a penalty, and that was a good call made by the refs. It was a penalty.
That was
so, and Marchment's got a bit of a reputation with the NHL refs and with the rest of the NHL itself, and obviously social media doesn't like him and thinks he dives left and right, and we don't say that he doesn't. He absolutely does, but he's got to stop taking stupid penalties like that, and it almost cost the Stars here tonight.
Yeah, that one was especially bad, but I mean, we talked about during the regular season a lot too. That's Mason Marchment. I mean, you're gonna have to take that sometimes with the good that Mason Marchment brings. It's not ideal, and it definitely shouldn't happen in the neutral zone like that. So that one was especially bad, even for Mason Marchment. But he's gonna have some penalties sometimes. You have to be able to kill him. So the Stars did better with that as the game went along, obviously, with 2 massive kills towards the end of the game.
The thing that really makes it feel so bad is that he was reaching in the neutral zone in the first period.
It was just stupid.
I mean, it's a nonsense penalty. There's no reason for it.
But the big reason the Stars were bad in that period was they just could not break the Avs forecheck. And the Avs give them tons of credit. They were playing hard and fast. That was a fantastic forecheck by the entire Avs team. And the Stars adjusted to it pretty well, I think, actually. After they got through that first intermission, they found a way to only be tied after that period, which I thought was the Stars' worst of the 4. And you got to give credit to the coaching staff there for figuring out what they needed to show their players to break through that, and to the defensemen for being able to keep their heads about them and figure out how to get past what the Avs were throwing at them.
And what's crazy is they almost came out of that period ahead, because after they scored the power play goal, they threw the 4th line out there. They got a 2-on-1 chance right away. I mean, and there's just more impact from the 4th line.
And there's so many different ways I want to go with this, first off. But the original thought was it almost felt like both teams did opposite as the game went on. The Stars, to their credits, there were moments when the Avs pushed back and they had their moments in our end. But it felt like, for the most part, and this is what I absolutely loved. One of my keys to the game, to the video that I did pregame, was you've got to keep your foot on the gas. And for about 90%, maybe 95%, from the middle of the second period on, when they were really starting to build up, and the other thing I said was build momentum, shift to shift. And they did that again here tonight. They did it. They've done it both games, but they were able to execute tonight. So 2 big key points that were hit tonight. And I love the fact that they did not let up, which is what the Avalanche did throughout, especially in the third period and in overtime.
That was the most shocking thing for me, is that the Stars had a fantastic third period rolling downhill. To me, it felt like they needed to get the go-ahead goal in the third and win the game there, just to capitalize on the momentum that they had. But they proved me wrong, and they just plowed that same momentum into the overtime. The entire 15 minutes of that overtime, the Stars were ahead of the Avs. They were playing better. They were a step quicker, were a step more physical. I mean, the fact they were able to do that was fantastic. And now you need to you kept momentum through an intermission. Now you need to keep momentum through into game 3, and you got to go take one.
Yeah, and I like what you said about them pushing through to the next period, because I thought the same thing that you did. I felt like they had to get the goal there, because if you let the Avalanche escape this one and regroup, and then they can come back and start anew. And I think that's where the Avalanche really failed tonight. They got a second chance, and they had a power play at the end of the game too, or at the end of the third period. And then they carried over some of the overtime, and they did nothing with it.
Yep.
And that's great kill from the Stars, and it's terrible execution from the Avalanche.
Yep. And then, it's not just the Avalanche who kind of squandered their opportunities too.
Oh, yeah.
Now, both teams did get a power play goal in the game here tonight, but Dallas had a huge chance. I mean, it was only 7 seconds, but it was basically a power play for 4 straight minutes, just about. And it was that was really, really rough to watch. And then they had another power play later in the third period, and before Rantanen took his penalty, I think, and it was like 4 or 5 minutes remaining in the third, I think. Is that right? Not right?
That's not right. The only penalty in the third was the Rantanen penalty.
Okay, there was one. All right, so the penalty I'm thinking of, though, is the Stars could not get any zone exits going in on this power play at a critical time. That whenever it was a critical time in the game.
Halfway through the game.
Yes, and they weren't able to even get any momentum off of it. It was like literally they got nothing. Like no setting up, nothing.
And so it was on the tail end of a great second period that they dominated for the most part, and they end up losing that
giving
frame.
up a goal. Yeah.
I thought the first half of that long power play looked good. I mean, that first minute 30 was very dangerous. They trapped the Avalanche, but then they did nothing with the second one at all, and it looked terrible. And it gave the Avalanche momentum back completely.
For sure.
And that's really what led to their goal.
Absolutely.
Okay, another way I want to go with this game here tonight is, and I think and I forgot who said it earlier, but they deserve the biggest winner tonight, is the American Airlines Center. The fans in general were just absolutely electric, and they were absolutely ridiculous here in the game tonight. I mean, I don't think they sat down from the third period on.
No, when the
game was going on. Yeah, like the lower bowl, I think they were standing up for a majority of the time. But it was so cool to watch, and it just gave me absolute goosebumps, especially after Blackwell scored the goal. I barely could hear the American Airlines Center over me screaming at the top of my lungs, but it was. I went back and watched it, and I was just like, that is one of the biggest, boom bass pounds I've heard in a really long time.
And the intelligence to start jeering at Blackwood once the Stars really got rolling. I mean, you're doing that because it's his second playoff game ever. He's never been in an environment like that. It's intelligence from Stars fans. It was awesome to do that. And that needs to happen the entirety of the game whenever they come back to Dallas. You need to get on Blackwood's case early.
Yeah, and that was the first time that we really saw Blackwood rattled there. I mean, he was swimming a bit late in the third period, and for most of the game he was fantastic. I still thought he was the Avalanche's best player again.
Agreed.
But I mean, the Stars made him swim more, and that's what they got to do. And I feel like most of the series it's going to be first to 4.
Yeah, and the other big thing with Blackwood is the rebounds. He is going to give up rebounds. That's what both the Avs netminders do. They're kind of, that's how I think that separates a good goaltender from a great goaltender, is that rebound control. He gave up a lot of them. The game-winning goal comes off of one. Dononov's goal comes off of one. You got to do that. You got to get to the net, and you got to get your stick on the puck, which has been the big problem the first 4 periods of this series for whatever reason. But that's how you got to attack Blackwood.
I loved the way that the Stars addressed it as well in the second period, especially in the third period when it came to and I don't know if it's a mixture of two things. Maybe the Stars got better, and maybe the Avalanche, took their foot off the gas pedal. But before I get to that, since y'all brought it up with Blackwood and Otter, this is a way more fun and a better matchup than I expected. And I'll go ahead and say this too, because we got a lot of crap, especially on TikTok, about Blackwood. And, saying, oh, well, you should have known that he was good. Well, that's exactly what we said. But the important thing that we pointed out was he had no Stanley Cup experience going into game 1. So that was the shocking thing for us, is that he was able to pull out a performance like that on game 1. He did it again in game 2 here today, guys. I really truly believe that. And for Otter, he
matched
period, in the first period he matched it and he was better. He outdueled Blackwood in the first period. In the second period, it was Blackwood who outdueled Otter. And then it kind of went back and forth for a little while. And then Blackwood had that enormous giant save at the beginning of overtime, 18 minutes. I think it was on Marchment. And Marchment didn't fully get everything on it, but it was more about the timing that he got it off on. It was a quick shot. That was a brilliant save by him. And then Otter was able to take care of business on the other side, and he made some good saves of his own. So this is a fantastic goalie matchup, better than I expected, and I'm here for it. This is awesome.
It is a great step-up game for Jake Oettinger, especially in that first period. The Stars could have been down 3-0 in a blink of an eye at the start of this game, with the chances that Nichushkin had, that Lehkonen had really early in that game. Those are massive saves. If those go in and you're down 2-0 quick in game 2, where it feels like a must-win because you're on an 8-game losing streak, I mean, it could have spiraled so quickly right there. So it cannot be overstated how big Otter was in that first period.
Yeah, and I thought he had some pretty big ones in overtime too. I mean, the Avalanche have some really sharp shooters, and I mean, Nichushkin and Lehkonen both had really, really good chances in overtime, and he was able to hang in there and not give up rebounds at all, which really was the big thing tonight. I mean, there was a time on the power play too where one just sticks to him, and he has Nathan McKinnon sitting there waiting for it, and it doesn't matter because it stopped it already.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I alluded to it, was I don't know what the Stars did differently. They have been able to survive in the first 4 periods, I would probably say, of this series with how they're getting out of their own zone. But it's almost like they found something in the second period, and especially in the third period, where they were just able to get out of their zone with a lot less effort, a lot quicker, and it looked a lot clean, a lot more clean. I'm not sure what the difference there was, but maybe you guys can enlighten that to me and what you saw.
The second period, I think they were pulling the puck off the boards before they tried to cross their own defensive blue line, and that was the big thing that allowed them to get past the Avs forecheck. So they're doing that, and they had a forward come back harder to be in the center so that when they take it off the boards, they have someone to go to. So that's the number one thing in the second period that I think led to that. But the third period, it was the Avs pulled back, and they said, we're going to win this game 3-2. And they were just flipping the puck out of the zone. Wasn't much forecheck at all, and that allowed the Stars to barrel down and really get going. So the Avs forecheck is still going to be a problem. It's not that the Stars have figured it out. It's just that they did a little bit better in the second period, and the Avs fully pulled back in the third, and they couldn't get it going in overtime.
And really, it shows that the Avs pull back. If they pull back at all on that forecheck, the Stars will just run over them in the series. I mean, there was next to nothing for the Avalanche in the third period and overtime.
Yeah, and we got a player that's really good at breaking forechecks that's getting a little bit closer to playing.
Can't come back fast enough.
And that's one of the big reasons why this is such a huge game to win. You're winning it without Miro Heiskanen.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got to keep it close until Miro comes back. If he can come back somewhat early in the series before game 6, you got to like the Stars' chances.
So Chris, what you were talking about was when they're at the half wall, if they're, sending it up the boards, there's a forward at the half wall, I don't know, just kind of pops it out into the center of the ice, and the center is there to take it out.
Well, it's not really popping it out to the center of the ice because that's a stupid thing to do in most situations.
Not the slot, not the slot, but between the boards and the slot.
Right. Well, the problem is the Stars' defensive defensemen, especially Lindell, Labushkin, Ceci, Petrovic, even Bischel for the most part, they just want to ram the puck up along the wall. They don't want to try to think and make a play to an open player. They just want to do the safe play, bank it off the boards and into the neutral zone. and the Avs are doing a good job of attacking that part of the ice and not letting them make the easy play. They're forcing them to make the difficult play. And the Stars did a much better job of recognizing that, seeing when they were pushing down hard and forcing themselves to make a good pass, whether it be into the middle of the defensive zone or into the neutral zone.
And
I think also stretching the ice helped with that too, because man, they were cherry picking for days.
I think that forwards coming back was a big thing though, because the defenseman really did just keep passing it up the boards, but it was like maybe 5 feet to a forward who was sitting there on the boards. They pull it off and just wait. They wouldn't do anything with it. They just wait for a second, and while their forwards are flying the zone, the Avs have to come back and cover them, or a high flip just sets up an odd man rush.
It also seemed like they were skating the puck out of the zone more often in the second and the third period. And again, maybe that's to your credit, Chris, what you were talking about. They backed off on their forecheck a little bit, but at the same time, I feel like that you have to give the Stars at least a little bit of credit there right?
The coaching staff gets a lot of credit for what they did in the second period, because the Avs were still coming after them, and they were able to actually get going the other direction a lot easier.
And I think the big thing was that the Stars actually got to a 3/4 game in the second period, about halfway through. And that's why all those penalties showed up. And even when the Avs finally got it out, they'd have to dump it in because they've been out on the ice for 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And that was the thing I kept telling Dad, and he was getting frustrated about, the fourth line is not scoring or whatever. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you know who's not spending time in the offensive zone? Nathan McKinnon and Marty Necas. That line, they're not playing in the offensive zone. They're playing in their own zone. So I will take that any day of the week. I do want to say one thing about the coaching staff too, and it paid off again, because Dodonov, that third goal in the third period, but they make that switch and they flip Rantanen and Dodonov, and that seemed to be the cookie in the cookie jar for the Stars today. And not just that, but also putting some familiarity, native country wise, for some of these guys. So we saw hints with Granlund and Rantanen for a while. We saw Dodonov with Ben and Wyatt Johnston, which that looked so much better than with Rantanen on it. So that coaching staff gets a lot of credit for that, and they also get a lot of credit for the defensive changes that they made in the second.
Yeah, the bigger deal is putting Dodonov on the Johnston line. I mean, that's the line that actually looked like it got going at 5-on-5 after that change happened. The hints, Rantanen and Granlund, I mean, it's still struggling 5-on-5 right now, and that's a good wild card to keep an eye on, because if the Stars can get that going, they're going to be able to win a game by more than a goal in overtime, hopefully. So that's really what we're looking for moving forward, is to get some offense out of our top players 5-on-5.
And this was something that I believe I had previously said on past episodes before the playoffs started, that I want to see Rantanen with hints anyway, because eventually that's what it's going to be. It's going to be Rantanen, hints, and Robo. And you should, instead of trying to have him figure it out with Ben and Johnston, who he's probably not going to play a lot more with, you should let the one line that is not working be the only line that is not working, and throwing Dodonov back with Ben and Johnston, who have good chemistry and have proved it before.
I think it gives you better matchups too, because you have to respect the speed and the power that Rope and Miko bring on their line, and it allows Johnston, Ben, and Dodonov to play against the depth of the Colorado Avalanche a little bit more. Because when Rantanen's on that line, Johnston and Ben are playing against the Avs' best every time they hop over the boards. So I really like how it maximizes the efficiency of the Dallas Stars forward depth with how they're lined up in that way. And if you want to flip Dodonov and Granlund, that's fine. If you want to throw Blackwell on the first line now, since he's apparently a clutch goal scorer, let's do that. But keeping it spread out that way, I think is going to be really good for this team moving forward.
Well, what we will probably see, though, is we're going to see the Avalanche make an adjustment moving forward, too. And if the Rantanen line continues to struggle, then we're going to see the best players for the Avalanche up against that Wyatt Johnston, Ben Dodonov line. Because, honestly, they were probably the best line in overtime. I really truly believe that.
They definitely were, but that's where the Stars' depth gets to shine through, because now your best players are playing against worse players, and now they're going to look better.
Right.
Well, this kind of leads to another thing that I want to talk about is we have, and this was interesting to see from a tweet from someone. I don't want to call them out, but they said we have yet to see a moment from Miko Rantanen yet, if that makes any sense. He is absolutely an incredible player and can do some wizardry things with the puck, but we have not seen a moment from him tonight. Now, I did see in the game here tonight in overtime, you could very easily see that he stepped up his game, and there was another level that he had that, other players like Wyatt Johnston, like Jamie Benn, stepped up their game a little bit in overtime, but he has not had that moment yet for me, in my opinion. What does he need to do to get to that point, to get to that moment, to be the it guy for the Dallas Stars, which is basically what he's getting paid to do next season, especially?
I wish I had the answer for that. But I'm just going to tell you how hard it is, because the dude's been playing with the Avalanche his entire career. He's the center of the hottest media story of the season. And then he plays against his former team, and he's getting flipped line mates all the time. And it's such a difficult situation to be put in. And on top of that, he's the number one guy being targeted by the other team because he's Miko Rantanen. And you can see that by the hits he takes late in this game too. He's the guy they're going after. So it is just a horrible spot to try and find your game for Miko Rantanen. It's very difficult. And I think he'll need to before the playoffs are over at the very least. We really need him to in this series if we want to make it easier on ourselves.
What's kind of odd enough too is with going on the road, he actually might become more comfortable because he's going to the arena that he spent years in. So it really can be something that could make him feel more comfortable.
Something to keep an eye on.
Okay, last thing here, and then we can start wrapping it up because it's almost 1:00 in the morning at the time we're recording. I know.
Thank you, NHL. You suck.
Yes, yeah, seriously. Razor mentioned two things here tonight that kind of stood out to me. Sorry. The first one was in the first period. He was talking about Oettinger, and he referred to some of the pucks that he was keeping as Velcro. Y'all talked about it already. That his rebound control was excellent. The other thing that he mentioned, and I can't believe it, if it was during the third period or if it was during overtime, he mentioned the Stars forecheck was one of the things that the Avalanche could not keep up with in the series last year. And we saw that here today. And that's not the Stars that we saw in the regular season. Most of the goals we saw from the Stars in the regular season was off the rush and off of turnovers. And that didn't happen all that much in the last two games. They've had their chances off the rush. They definitely have. But a lot of the momentum building has been built off of that Stars forecheck that guys like Blackwell brought to the game tonight. Guys like Ben, Bischel, even I would give some credit to. Is this the way moving forward that the Stars need to take advantage of? And it's a slightly different team than last year, but this seems to be the recipe for success against the Avalanche. If you can keep the Avalanche off of their chances off the rush and get to your game and just pound them and pound them and pound them and get the forecheck going, they can pull out some wins here.
I mean, that's everyone's game. If you can play on the other end, that's better than playing in your end.
Especially with the way the Stars have with their decor right now. So, okay, biggest winner, biggest loser. Who do you guys have tonight?
Biggest winner is Colin Blackwell.
James,
I'm going to give my biggest winner to the fourth line in general. They were fantastic tonight.
Sam Steele, 2 apples.
Yeah. And back getting his first assist in the playoffs too. So they really had a fantastic night. The Stars' depth outshone the Avalanche depth.
And by the way, he did leave the game for a period of time, but he did come back. So I'm wondering if that's for
who did Beck?
Beck,
yeah.
Yes, he did. I'm wondering if it was for concussion protocol. Maybe the concussion spotter pulled him and they had him checked out or something, or he might be dealing with something. I don't know. But anyways, I like that biggest winner pick, James, the fourth line. For me, I kind of gave one already to the American Airlines Center for how they were just absolutely bonkers on a Monday night at midnight. But I'll also give one to Jay Oettinger. He did not have a he had a very good game in game one, and a couple of fluky goals beat him, and he took it personally, and he played way better tonight, and he outduels Blackwood tonight. So he's my biggest winner tonight for that, because again, the first period, if he doesn't play like he does in the first period, then all of this other stuff that we were happy to talk about with Blackwell in the second period and the forecheck and all the zone exits that out of our own zone and all that stuff, all of that stuff is a moot point if Jake Oettinger doesn't keep the game 1-1 going into the first intermission.
He's got to do it until we get Miro back. We need him.
Yeah. And a lot of people were getting frustrated about it, but I was just like, guys, this is what we have to do. This is what we expected. He's going to have to do this and make some big unnecessary saves because our decor is just going to, give it up. So who's your biggest loser here tonight?
Biggest loser is the Avalanche for not taking advantage of depth scoring. They get 2 goals from their depth tonight, and they don't win the game. That is bad for the Colorado Avalanche.
The biggest loser truly is Miles Wood. He's their one lineup change from last night. He played the least amount of time on ice, and he had a -3. So
Yikes.
he was on the ice for every single goal against, except for the power play goal. He had a really, really tough game. There's nothing else. The Stars made a change, and he had the game-winning goal in overtime, and the Avs made a change, and he was on the ice for every goal against.
Coaching.
Biggest loser for me, I'm probably I don't know. I guess I'll just give it to the moments that Colorado didn't take advantage. I can also say that for the Stars too. There were several moments in this game today where both teams had chances to take advantage and they didn't. I mean, Stars had that extended, back-to-back power plays that I thought that should have been a change for us. Mason Marchment with the really bad opportunity there when he completely changed the outcome of that first period. And then, the Avalanche had a power play to end the third period and then to begin the overtime period, and they weren't able to capitalize on that. So that'll be my biggest loser here tonight. Have y'all already seen the time on ice?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, dang it. I was going to ask and do a trivia question, but for everybody else, Thomas Harley, 35 minutes and 54 seconds tonight.
Not too bad for 4 periods.
Still, that's rough, man. Esa Lindell with 31-18. Labushkin, 24-45. That's got to be a season high. And then Cody Ceci, 26-49. I mean, good for him too. So lots of high numbers for those players.
And I feel like you could tell Esa Lindell's high time on ice, especially on the penalty kill. I can't remember if it was the end of the third or the beginning of the overtime. There was a puck that was like 50-50. He could have gone after it. He didn't even try. I mean, he was so gassed, and I don't blame him. Him and Harley are playing so much right now. So it's something to keep an eye on as the series goes along, how beat up those two get.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to appreciate also all the super chats that we received. I should have done these a lot sooner, guys. I'm sorry. Ryan Gardner with the $25. He is the king of Starcastic remarks. Blackwell streak stops at 8. Let's high five the moon. I'm a little hype. A little hype? I am very hype right now. James Thomas with a $10 super chat.
Thank you, James.
Yes, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, James. Colorado gave away their weakness. They were more tentative with the dump and bump, as Razor calls it. And it started trying to put them in the front row. Yes, agreed. Nate with the $2. Thank you, Nate. Colin Blackwell.
Thank you, Nate.
And then finally, our Vancouver fan, all the way from up there in Canada, Connor, here after watching LA Boys bloody happy, they silenced the precious golden boy number 97 and that Leon dried up Seidel. Oh yeah, good job, Dallas.
Fun playoffs overall today. Well, man,
Yes.
what awesome games.
What an ending to that Oilers Kings game. My goodness.
And
Yeah,
to
and
the Caps game too. Wild.
Lord.
Just a wild day of hockey.
Okay, yeah, like
Ovi turning
Ovech-
back the clock.
Yes, like the thing is he never turned the clock forward. He
Timeless.
continues to. He's 40 and he was in on
All
all
right.
3 goals.
It's 1 a.m. Close it out.
Thank you guys so much for following along with us live. There's even more of you who are listening afterwards. We appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you click like and subscribe if you're listening here on YouTube. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers here. If you're listening on the audio side, 5-star review would be very much appreciated. At Starcastic R, anywhere and everywhere with social media. StarcasticRemarks.com is the website. StarcasticRemarksShop.com is the merch store to best help support us in what we do. And if you also like what you heard here today, please make sure, if you would like to, join the Who Cares Club for $5 a month. Helps us keep the lights on here at Starcastic Remarks. Alongside James and alongside Chris, this is actually the thing I've been looking forward to the most. My name is Ryan. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. And for the first time in a very long time,
2.5
Chris.
weeks. Thank you, Avs fans, for the views. GG, boys.